Hello, so I'm making this video on some things to do to optimize our performance on the first part of Hegemon. So I'm just gonna go right in, and this is gonna be like a look at the mechanic, move on. So I do not think there's anything that we can do to optimize this first mechanic, or I should say, I think the first mechanic is pretty well optimized in how we do the strategy. This one right here. I'm gonna skip. This is the part I was talking about. We're gonna go to the next mechanic. This is the limit cut thing, and so to clear up conversation, actually, I should have done this. We're 114 in the fight. Okay. Is this the same shit? It is. Alright, so I want to explain the strategies we have available to us. I'm going to talk about the option of diamond weapon strategy here. For those who are not familiar with diamond weapon strategy, essentially you would have the angles of the AoEs to go like this. So these spots end up being safe. So somebody would stand here, 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 and here. This makes it so, let's say if you're 3, you would stand where I have the cross, and you'd move to D. And if you were 7, when 3 gets hit, you'd move from your marker to where I have the cross. Note that this is not where the marker is. I think in a vacuum, this strategy is objectively the best strategy to do here, just because there are not minor things that conflict with other potential strategies. The 2 main reasons I am not doing this strategy is because, one, I know most of the group is more familiar with how to do things like Phoenix, and so that natural used to doing that will help this. Secondly, for some of the other mechanics in the fight, I actually prefer to have markers on the direct intercardinals, given when she shoots stuff on the sides and the front and back, it's always bisected on the intercardinals. We could alternatively have the markers on the intercardinals and have people stack on certain spots, but I know that's going to fuck some stuff up. So we're not going to do the diamond weapon strat. What we're going to do is a lot simpler for almost all of the combinations. Essentially, if you had 3, you'd stand on 3. And if you had 7, you'd stand in the clockwise position of 3. So when it shoots 1, 2, 3, when 3 gets hit, let's say if I had 7, I'd move in here, and Seraphia would wait for 6 to go off, and when 6 goes off, he'd move into 2. So the movement difference is not that much worse than the diamond weapon strategy. There are some combinations that this doesn't effectively work for. For instance, in here, I have 8, and so my natural default spot would be here. But I'd have to wait for 1 to go off before I moved into 1, and then when 4 went off, I would go back into 4. There are just a couple numbers that do that nonsense. It's not that big of a difference, but it does make the strategy not as consistent for every single number permutation compared to diamond weapon. But this is a strategy that we will be going through with just to make things easier. Moving on. This is pretty optimized. I don't want to deal with this any further. There are cases where melee DPS and tanks are sad when you're running out. But the reality to this mechanic is, if I can pause it right, the AoEs are fucking massive. Like we would spend so much effort min-maxing this for maybe like a fraction of a GCD, that this is, in my opinion, is not worth going through Opti for. Moving on to the next thing. Did I skip something here? No. I believe these are the, here it is. Here's the first big one that I want to talk about, optimization. So as we have it right now, some people, when you get snake, you're like facing inward, you have to turn around and face outwards and then move. The turning around thing for most people doesn't matter. For some people it's slightly annoying. The way we will deal with this mechanic to make it so that it's first of all harder to fuck up is that we will have your light party stack on 2 and 3, and so let's say there's 4 people at 3. Whoever gets snake just like stands in like a line here or whatever, and whoever gets wing stands here. And when the explosion comes off, you go to the other side. Obviously, whatever side you initially stand on is dependent on if it's sides or front to back. And so, in the strategy, I would be at 3, Gary would be at 3, Namura would be at 3, and Sarathi would be at 3 in this permutation. We see I have snake, and so instead of me turning around, I would just be on the front part of the 3 marker, because if that's the case, then the snake lines are being shot towards 4 and 1, which is where nobody's standing.
I'm sorry.
Nice. This mechanic's pretty optimized. We figured out the solution for here. You know, look where the off-centered cross or plus sign is, and then you go into the one diagonal in front of this. In this case, 4 is the place where it's to be. We stand outside of 4, and then when we move into 4, it's in the center of 4, and there's no issues. You can see how it's not even close to hitting people from this graphic right here. Did I miss something? Nice. I did. This mechanic's pretty simple, and I think optimized the same way. People that need to run out, and just sucks to be them. Nice. Plays out pretty cleanly.
Bro, that was fucking close. What?
This is the next set of tiles. There are 2 ways I think about it. I believe the way we were initially thinking about it is also fair. We see the off-centered cross, so we would go to 3. In this mechanic, we know that there's going to be 2 tiles open, so we know 3 and 1 are the open tiles from that. Alternatively, you can look at what cross is being centered to bisect the group. And so you can see this cross is going to be hitting 2 and 4, so by process you know that 1 and 3 are safe. Obviously the first one is more consistent in how we think about for the first one, so you might as well just do that one. That prevents any confusion. We have 2 stacks. If we really needed to, I believe we could just stack on the corners if only one spot was open in some situations, but I didn't see any of those in the pools that we had. But for now, we will just do, my light party would be on the left side, and the other light party would be on the right side.
We're good.
You can't stack in the square.
Yes.
There's still a thing.
Yes, you can.
You absolutely can.
It's
Dark
fine.
Ashes.
Kill Zayla.
Dark Ashes, we're going to treat Dark Ashes pretty simply. Everyone goes to your color intercardinal. So, for instance, Yeri and I go to 4, Seraphia and Namuro goes to 3. We'll have the default be that the supports take the front position and the DPS take the back position. We'll have Kendrith and Kiana swap doing that, so Kendrith is on the front, so there's no chance for melee downtime.
Yeah, let me.
But essentially, how I would expect this to play out, we would stand on the number, and let's say one person would be. Let me actually see which one it is. So it's sides. So let's say Yeri would be standing here. I would be standing here. We don't hit each other with the AoE. Zayla would be standing here. Alidra would be standing here. And then after this hit goes off, obviously we move over to the other side of the intercardinal.
Sides. Sides. Get them up.
The mechanic after this is Cachexia, which I made a separate video of. So just going through what happened here, I hope this clears up how to do things more optimally. I'll have this in the doc on a bigger, like, written out explanation about how to do these.